that's the great thing about running towards challenges. Don't just do what everybody else has done, run towards a challenge. And now all of a sudden you gain an expertise. And that's a wonderful way to, especially in a mature industry, trying to think outside the box and accomplish things maybe a little bit differently.
You're listening to What Fuels You, where we deep dive with CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business leaders to learn more about their stories and uncover nuggets of wisdom we can all use. I'm your host, Shauna Swerland, CEO of Fuel Talent, an award-winning recruiting firm based in Seattle. Today's guest on the What Fuels You podcast is Brent Beardall. Brent is the president and CEO of WaFd Bank, the largest bank headquartered in Washington state, with more than $27 billion in assets and 200 offices located in 9 Western states. He has spent over 2 decades at WaFd, rising through finance and operations before becoming CEO in 2017. Known for his candid leadership style and public advocacy for community banking, Brent has led WaFd through significant economic disruption, strategic pivots, and cultural transformation. He is a Stanford Executive Program graduate, a CPA by training, and serves on several civic and financial boards. Brent often describes himself as the luckiest man alive, a perspective shaped by lived experience, gratitude, and responsibility. Welcome, Brent. So good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Donna, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
I am too. I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire out of the gate. Are you a mountains or beach, if you had to choose?
It's changed over the years. I grew up in Southern California. I grew up on the beach down in Newport Beach, California, but now I'm a mountains guy. I've had enough sun in my life.
Yeah. Do you surf or did you surf growing up?
I was more of a swimmer, so body surfing was my thing. I was on the water polo team, so it's all body surfing.
Oh, I love that. My nephew is a water polo player. It was in high school. That sport is like intense. That's great.
It is
It is
so much
crazy.
fun, and it's great exercise, by the way. And
I
what's crazy
know.
about it is the amount of contact that happens beneath the water. It is a full contact
I didn't
sport.
know that, but my friend's daughter is going to play in college, and she's like, "Oh no, they make you cut your nails. They check your nails because the girls apparently like ripped each other under the water to shreds." I had no idea. I was like, "Oh, that's new information."
Yeah, no, and if some of the most brutal was it was co-ed in Southern California,
Oh,
and
that's kind of fun.
let's just say some of the girls I played with were maybe not as respectful to the guys as we were to the women.
That's crazy. I can only imagine. You got to do what you got to do. Are you early riser or night owl?
Definitely an early riser. Yes, I typically try to get out 5 to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Did you ever read that, like, what is it, the 5 a.m. club? Do you have like
No,
a routine, one of those people?
it varies. I travel so much. When I'm home, I try to have a routine.
Yeah. And where do you go or what do you do when you want to just kind of unplug or reset?
To me, back to your earlier question, to the mountains, just get out and hike or bike in the mountains, and combine that with a little golf. And one of the things that's unusual about me about golfing is I actually prefer to walk and to play by myself, because
Oh,
it's a great time to reset and just be by yourself, because it's just you and the ball, right? There's no
yeah.
excuses, and it's a really good time to just kind of think about things.
Are you a good golfer?
I used to be better than I am. The accident caused some havoc, but I can win a little bit here and there.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll get into the accident, which is just the craziest story. Question for you. What 3 words would your like closest friends use to describe you?
Irreverent, optimistic, and driven.
I'm curious what your first concert was.
Music for the masses, Depeche Mode at the LA Coliseum in probably 86.
Oh gosh, so good. That's like quintessential 80s.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
So
and
good.
and nothing like a concert with 120,000 of your best friends.
Oh yeah. And what are the qualities, if you had to pick like 3, that you most value in employees or just like leaders, like things that you look for?
Uh, Number one is authenticity, to be real. So much of our world is fake today. So I look for authenticity. So don't tell me what you're just great at. Obviously, you're going to tell me what you're great at. Tell me where your shortcomings are because we all have them. That'd be number one. Number two, probably closely related to that, is someone that's introspective. They can step back and really look at what they've done right, what they've done wrong. And number three is someone that's willing to learn.
Yeah.
I'm so done with people that believe they know everything. One of the things I love to do in the new year is try to look back and say, okay, what did I learn this last year that I was wrong about before?
Oh, that's a good one.
And too many times in my life, I look back and say, oh, there's not too much, and that's not a reflection of me being right. That's a
Yeah.
reflection of not getting out there and learning new things.
Yeah. So it almost sounds like you're like, hey, I'd love to take the great players, but they have to be coachable.
You know what? I would so much rather take the undrafted players, players that have a little bit of talent but have a whole lot more heart.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. And what are like the small things that bring you kind of real joy or that you feel gratitude for? I mean, obviously we're all like family, health, but like, are there little things that you've learned to really appreciate?
Yeah, and we'll get into this as we talk about the accident. I tell you what, waking up every day is a gift, and it's not guaranteed to any of us. And life can change so quickly. And no matter what your day looks like, whatever's coming at you that day, to be able to wake up and stand on your feet and take a deep breath and being able to attack the day, having gratitude, it's again, it's a simple things, right?
Hmm.
But that puts everything in perspective. That's one of the things that has changed in my life. I've always been an optimistic person, but it is wonderful to be alive.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, a lot of people that when they get a diagnosis or they have an accident or something happens, that's when you get that perspective. And it's almost like, how do you shake people into that perspective without some sort of trauma or tragedy? Um, but I think that, I've read about you prior to the accident, it just happened in 2023, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And so you've had a whole lifetime before, obviously, with all sorts of incredible attributes. I'm curious um, I guess, what specifically do you do to stay present in that gratitude? Because being a CEO of such a huge company, having so many moving parts in your life, you can feel that kind of broadly, but like in the day to day, whether it's traffic or the just the little things that people get kind of shaken by, is that just gone automatically, or do you have to kind of stay present and remind yourself?
No, you have to stay present and remind yourself. And you know, one of the scriptures. I'm a religious person, and one of the scriptures talks about the sands of the sea, right? And I think about that quite often. I am just one tiny granule of sand, and I am no better or no worse than anyone else. And the other thing I love to say is you cannot rest on what you did yesterday, what you learned yesterday, on what your resume. It is what are you doing today?
Yeah.
And I think that really helps to motivate me to try to say, okay, what am I doing today to make a difference?
Yeah. And so when you're trying to, well, I want to get into all this, but I don't want to skip through. I'm like so curious now you've got me on the edge of my seat. I'm like, I want to ask you about like work stuff and style. But first, let's start from the beginning. So you were raised in Southern California. Do you have siblings? And like, where did you get this positive attitude from?
So I was raised in Southern California, kind of a beach kid, Kenyon High School in Anaheim Hills, California. And I started working from an early age. I started working, my father was a banker. So I started working in the file room of a bank when I was, I think, 14 years old.
Hmm.
And, the antithesis of, oh, your dad's a banker, you've got a great life. My dad was a banker and get to work. And, literally back in the day when there were pink slips for cars, and these were on auto loans, and I'd file the pink slips that work in the file room. And I worked my way up to the collections department. Believe it or not, when I was 16 years old, I was working collections, calling people.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
It was a wonderful education, wonderful, because I got to learn about leverage and I got to
Yeah.
learn how many people are living above their means. Right,
Yeah.
being a kid in high school, I always thought, oh, you look at their car, and based on their car, you can know how well they're doing in life. Not true. There were so many people that were living above their means, and just working with people. And hey, you need to make your payment. If you don't make your payment, your car is going to be gone tomorrow. There's no way you guys won't do it. And then they would call the next day. You guys blankety blank took my car, and there are consequences. There are
Yeah.
economic realities, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to live within your means is something we all need to do, and as government we need to do.
100%. And so you also, it was probably taught you about accountability and all of that. Was
Yes.
it your parents or teachers or kind of who in your life really made an impact?
Yeah, going back to that family a little bit, and I'll talk about that impact. But I'm the youngest of three children. I've got a brother that's 3 years older than me, and a sister that's 6 years older than me. And when I was 15, unfortunately, my father passed away when I was 15 years old. And at the time, I thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And to this day, I miss my father. I can't wait to see him, hopefully someday on the other side. Um, but in hindsight, it was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me, because it taught me that accountability. And importantly, something that it gave me was a switch within myself to be able to turn on to be very, very serious, and a switch to let go, let your hair down a little bit and have fun, and kid around and joke and enjoy life. And I think you have to do both to be healthy from a mental perspective. And so
Yeah.
that really helped shape who I was. And it's one of the learnings in life is you can be a victim when things happen to you, because things are going to happen to all of us, and they do happen to all of us. You can either be a victim, or you can take whatever's happened to you and learn from it and become stronger. And that's one of the things that a saying I've always enjoyed. You know, uh, it's if it doesn't kill you, let it make you stronger.
That's
And
your quote.
that's what I try to be. But that really shaped my life at a young age, at 15
Yeah.
years old, because I became effectively the man of the home,
Well, I was going to
taking care of the
ask you, was
family.
it your older brother, your older sister? You're the baby. And so, what role did you play and how did that play into your ability to kind of, I'm guessing you probably felt like you had to do the right thing, not cause any more kind of stress for the family. Um, Not necessarily not color outside the lines, but some kids are rebellious at 15 as a result of some trauma, and it sounds like you went the opposite direction.
Yeah, no, it was just the more my brother was on his Mormon mission. He was down in Venezuela of all places, and my sister was back and forth between college, so I was home with my mom. But all of the responsibilities for the house, taking care of the yard, the sprinklers, when we needed a new roof, painting the house, everything associated with that, is just went on your shoulders. And whether it was real or perceived, the perception
Yeah.
was, okay, I need to take the mantle from my dad and take care of my mom.
Wow. Well, she was lucky to have a son like you. That's amazing. As a parent now, I'm like, that's so nice to hear. And were there values that you could like speak to that were like, this is what was important to my family growing up?
Yeah, to me, it was always, just hammered into me. You need to have a North Star. What are your values? There is right and there is wrong in this world. And it's also important to realize that you're not always right, right? Others, but there is a right and wrong. You treat people with kindness. You treat people with respect, right? It's that golden rule: you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And one of the sayings I really dislike is, the nice guy finishes last. If that's the case, I'm happy to finish last, because I do believe we need more people that are nice in this world. But
Yeah.
I think nice gets a bad moniker, if you will, because nice doesn't mean being taken advantage of. You can
Yeah.
hold your
I
ground.
think kind is a better, I like the word kind because, you know, when people are like, if they pretend you set somebody up on a blind date and they're like, how was it? And you're like, oh, he was nice. Like nice almost sounds like you're just kind of getting by, like almost not disingenuous. Whereas kindness is like, oh, I did that extra thing, and I do that what you're talking about, treating others as I would want to be treated. Which to me, if the world operated with that as the religion of all, not necessarily organized religion, but just the mantra, can you imagine the world? Like it's just, I agree, the world is crazy right now, and we need more nice people and kind people for
We
sure.
do, right? No, and it is, right, how our language evolves over time. It's, nice to meet you. So it just
Yeah.
seems so superficial and
Yeah.
shallow. And
Yeah.
whether it's nice or kind, but it's living by that golden rule. And I wholeheartedly agree. Can you imagine what the world could be if we really treated each other that way? If banks
Yeah.
treated their customers that way? That's what we try to do here at WaFd Bank, right? I mean, and even this podcast with what you're doing, I can tell you want to go to a level of depth and understanding, not only for your audience, but for yourself, which is,
Yeah,
I love that curiosity.
I really can't do the small talk thing. Like I'm pretty good at the, networking and meeting new people, but I don't get energy from, talking about making small talk because I just want to cut through to the to the meat of a person and figure out really what they're about. It's just that's my whole thing. I've always been that way. Very curious about people. Luckily, I'm
Yeah.
in the people business, and you are too. So tell me about school. Where did you go to school, and how did you make that choice? Was it the right choice?
Sure. I went to BYU, from California to BYU, spent a year at school. Then I spent 2 years on a Mormon mission down in Mexico City, which was probably the biggest learning I've ever had in life. To go from, a pretty well off life in Southern California to Mexico City. And the first area I served in was La Colmena, which means beehive. It didn't even have a paved road. You think of Mexico City and all, there's some wealth in Mexico City, but there's a lot of poverty in Mexico City. And I saw that poverty and, trying to get your U.S. stomach accustomed to the food and water in Mexico. You have all kinds of sickness issues, and it is incredibly humbling.
I'm
But it
sure.
was,
So tell me about the Mormon mission. So is there a certain time where everyone goes? And does everyone do it or only people who are like, tell me about that a little bit more because I have two friends who did that, but I never asked them.
oh yeah, no, that's great. So you are highly encouraged to go. I saying you're required to go would be an overstatement, but highly encouraged to go.
Yeah.
And it used to
Yeah.
be much more for the men to go and the women just if they want to, but now both are highly encouraged to go. But I highly it honestly, if I could be in charge of the world and say, okay, this is what one change I want to make to everyone, I would require 2 years of service for everyone around that time frame as you transition from high school to college, right?
I agree
I,
with that. I
I
agree with that.
honestly, I know I'm not saying everybody go on a Mormon mission, but something like a Mormon mission, something like peace
Yes.
service, military, 2 years
Yes.
where you have to focus on someone other than yourself.
Outside of yourself. Well, they do that in Israel. My kids are have all studied abroad in Israel in their sophomore year of high school, and they come back and they're just like, it's so incredible that people want to serve their country. It's mandatory.
Yes.
And I agree that it would be great for some sort of service to be mandatory and not just be about get from here to there so that you can make money and consume, which just seems like it's a little bit more our mentality.
No, it is. And it's interesting. I went to Israel a couple of years ago, and the wonderful thing about Israel is everyone has a purpose.
Yes.
And that purpose is to survive together. They are
Yeah.
incredibly welcoming. It's like, okay, we want to survive. There is a target on our backs. We want to survive. And
Yeah.
it's incredible that sense of purpose. Everyone that's mandatory military service. And I found them to be so welcoming and hospitable.
Yeah,
But it's a
it's a great country, misunderstood, and especially right now. And we could get that could be a whole podcast. Yeah,
it,
that's a
it could,
crazy
but
world.
it is interesting. And what I really loved about them is the resiliency.
Oh, it's incredible.
Everyone and no matter what they went through, don't call us victims. We
Yes.
we are blessed and we will be resilient, right?
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. And so has your definition of success changed from, I guess, if we met in high school versus now? And not even now after your accident, but before your accident, just as like an adult.
Oh
What
yeah.
does success mean to you?
Success to me means impacting others' lives. So if at the end of the day I can look back at my life and think that I helped lift others up, that's success
Guessing
to
there's
me.
a lot of people walking around this earth that you've impacted positively.
I don't know about that, but if there's one, I'm grateful, right? But in high school, no, it was way more focused monetarily, right? No, the success is, driving a 911, being able to go to the beach, and that is success. And that was incredibly shallow. And life has taught me what really matters.
Yeah. And so when you think back, you said, okay, if I could like wave my magic wand, everyone would do two acts of service. What else would you change about specifically education? Like what would people be learning that you're surprised they don't know?
Yeah, I think we spend too much time in books nowadays, books and on our tablets and our phones. I think we need to have more of the Wild West mentality, the homesteading mentality. This is actually something I was talking a colleague about the other day. Is wouldn't it be great as we're sitting here in this housing crisis and I ask myself, how are my kids ever going to afford a home? Right?
Yeah.
How are our grandkids ever going to afford a home? Wouldn't it be? But yet you fly across this country, we have so much land available to us, right? That the government owns. We own as we the people. Wouldn't it be great to say, okay, we are going to start up new cities and we're going to allow homesteading. You're going to be assigned this plot of land, and together as a community, you're going to build the homes. So you need to get good at a skill, whether you're going to be framing, doing foundation, drywall, electrical, you name it.
Well, and we need
Figure it
that
out.
now because there's no, we have to think of those jobs too that where AI is not going to replace it. I'm guessing AI is not building the homes, not yet.
No,
The
I
robots.
don't think that will ever. But wouldn't that be
It
cool,
would be
right?
incredible.
And there's a sense of accomplishment,
And
right? You
community.
learn a skill and community, and right, you make it so okay. You do this, you have to live there for the next 15 years.
Oh,
How
yeah.
wonderful would that be?
Oh, that'd be incredible. I love that. So okay, so you went to school, then you did the mission, and what was your first job after you went to college?
Yeah, so I came back from my mission, back to BYU, and I got a master's degree in accounting. And I was one of these people that, after my experience being a debt collector, I was debt adverse. So I did not want to graduate college with any loans. So I was working 40 hours a week during my entire master's program,
Wow.
and just you just do what you have to do. And one of the things my father taught me early on, he said, "Hey, Brent, I mean, he recognized it in me. He's like, you may not be the smartest guy around, but I can tell you what, you can outwork anyone." And to me, to be able to work is a gift. And so I fully understand now that it's not necessarily work harder, work smarter, but there's also absolutely, no replacement for hard work and being
Yeah.
willing to put in the time and learn and grow. So uh, did that through college, then came to work in public accounting here in Seattle. My wife was from Seattle, and I looked at everything that was happening in Seattle, and I want to be part of that community. So came up
Yeah,
here,
your
and
timing was great.
yeah, it turned out to be great. Came up here in 1994, and I've been here ever since.
And how did you meet your wife?
In Well, it's now my ex-wife. Unfortunately, after 30 years of marriage, we got divorced 2 years ago. But now I'm happily remarried, and we can go to
Oh,
that story.
wow.
Very happily remarried.
Yeah, I want
But
to hear that.
yeah, but I met my ex-wife in business law 341 in graduate school.
Oh, yeah. Nice. And so she was from Seattle, so the two of you moved here. And what was that first job? So public accounting, and because you've been at WaFd for such a long time and kind of made your way up the ladder.
Yeah, but believe it or not, I've only had two jobs since graduating college. I went to work at public accounting at Deloitte. I was there, and one of the jobs I was on at Deloitte was what used to be at the time Washington Federal Savings and Loan Association. And then in 2001, 25 years ago, I came to WaFd, and I've been here ever since. And boy, has the world changed.
Wow. Okay, so you started there, and did you, I'm guessing over the years you've gotten tons of recruiting calls. What has kept you there so long?
Yeah, I am loyal to a fault. And it goes back to kind of who I am. I think this was 2017 or, yeah, when I got the position as CEO of the bank. On my LinkedIn, I put in there, I am the luckiest man alive. And I
Yeah,
truly
I've heard
believe
you
I
say
am.
that on other podcasts and just in writing. I've read that you say that a lot. And you feel, but you don't have imposter syndrome. You feel that you deserve this spot. I mean, you're beloved.
And the reason I say that is because I love what I get to do every day. I love
Yeah.
what I get to do and who I get to do it with. And right. And one of the learnings I've had as I've gone through my experiences the last couple of years is I've always believed that you need to have two separate but parallel lives. You have your professional life and your personal life. And that all went out the window. That's
Yeah.
a bunch of
My whole
malarkey.
world is merged, and I love what
It
I do too. Because there's no such thing as somebody I'm talking to that's either not looking for a job, knows somebody that's looking for a job, is hiring somebody. And my whole world is I've done business with all sorts of people. I don't, it's scary a little bit to do business with like super close friends, but I just believe that I've never lost a client. Like if you just do the right thing anyway, I treat my clients like friends and my candidates like friends. It's all merged. And
it's all merged, and that's the way it should be. It really is. And it kind of goes back to that authenticity, right?
mhm.
Unless you merge the two together, you're holding everybody else at arm's bay and say, no,
Yeah.
you're not worthy of the real me. And everyone is worthy. So I do. I love what I get to do. I love learning every day, and there's so much to learn and so much. I don't get me wrong. There's times I kick myself. Why in the world have I chosen to go to work in one of the most regulated environments ever?
Yeah.
And I had an early opportunity to go to Amazon, and would have done quite well. But I don't regret it. I don't begrudge it at all. I love what I've been able to get to do and who I've gotten to
Yeah.
know, and hopefully the lives I've been able to impact.
Yeah. And Amazon, very different culture than WaFd.
Oh
And you've been
yes.
able to impact that culture. I guess early on in your career did you have big aspirations or did they happen organically? And if so, what, um, I guess traits were you showing up with that made them kind of pick you? Was it not just your skill set, but certain kind of you were extra proactive or extra, what was it that made them kind of continue to pick you to promote you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They hit the bottom of the barrel. How about that? No, you know,
Well, you
one of
earned
the
a lot of
things,
trust,
oh,
obviously.
yeah,
You did what you said yeah.
one of the things I've always liked to do is if you want to be successful, run towards a problem, right? There's so many times in life, nobody wants to dig into something. Don't touch it. That's
hmm
nuclear waste, right? Turns out you have to deal with it. So run towards a problem. And the real game changer for me was what used to be FASB 133, the accounting standard on derivatives. And what was phenomenal about that is all of a sudden you have a brand new accounting standard. There is no expert in this. So I printed off all whatever it was, 1,232 pages of the standard, and I read it, and I highlighted, and I went over it, and I asked
Oh my
questions, and so
gosh.
forth.
Wow.
And next thing I knew, I became an expert in FAS 133. Like how could I be an expert? Because I've actually paid attention, right? And you get, and that's the great thing about running towards challenges. Don't just do what everybody else has done. Run towards a challenge, and now all of a sudden you gain an expertise. And I, it's kind of been my nature, right? I like to make waves. I like to be irreverent at times, and that's a wonderful way to, especially in a mature industry, trying to think outside the box and accomplish things maybe a little bit differently.
That's such a good message. I really like it. So, what has been the biggest surprise for you as you've stepped into the CEO role since 2017? And did you have a mentor? Have you had mentors along the way?
Yeah, I know. I've had right at WaFd Bank. I'm only the sixth CEO in 108 years. Isn't that
Wow.
crazy? Only the sixth CEO, and I've been very good friends. The two before me were both mentors of mine, and um, it's you look at it two ways, and you say, well, wait a second, is that a good thing or a bad thing, right? Because you can get so set in your ways, inertia can become so powerful, and I've tried to take it as the opposite approach. How do I reinvent myself? How do we reinvent ourselves? We have to stay relevant, right? If we lose relevancy, and I think that's a fear we all have as we transition towards retirement, as we transition towards right, we all have an expiration date. We
Yeah.
lose relevancy. So how do you reinvent yourself to stay relevant in your own mind? I really don't care about other people, but to yourself, how can you stay relevant? And that's a beautiful thing of really wanting to learn and wanting to grow. And my wife Jeanette now she is a constant learner, and I love it. She's so inquisitive about so many different things. She's kind of like that crazy uncle we all have that knows everything. Except what's
Yeah.
great about her is she'll never tell you that she knows so much. She's just always learning.
I love that. I found that I've been way more curious as I've gotten older, and I know that AI is a complicated uh, conversation and a complicated concept, but I find that it makes me even more curious because I can just get information so quickly and it's synthesized the way that I've trained my, AI chat GPT
Your
to share
bot,
with me,
yes.
my bot. Um, what are you guys doing? What are you personally doing to stay relevant? And what would you say WaFd's doing to stay kind of ahead of the competition?
Yeah, it's really tough in a highly regulated business because anytime you do something, the regulators say, "Well, wait a second, what impact does this have?" And there's crazy things like model risk management, and oh my goodness, AI by its nature is a generative model, meaning it learns from one thing to another. So generally, the regulators, look down upon it. But I'm like, there is a wave coming to all of us, and that is a
Yes.
technological revolution. We can either ride that wave and take advantage, kind of like a FAS 133, become an expert at it, learn it, and have it help us do our jobs better, or we're going to get crushed by the wave. And it's up to
Yeah.
each of us to figure out how do we reinvent ourselves and how can we be relevant. And to me, banking is a wonderful profession and a wonderful asset to our communities because leverage done right is a beautiful thing. It allows you to buy the home that you're raising your family in because not a lot of people have enough money to just buy that. You need to go get a loan. You get that loan from a bank. It's a wonderful thing when you put your money with a bank and you know it's safe. You put
Yeah.
money you want to grow faster into stocks, but you know that could go up or down any day. It may not be there. When you put your money in a bank, it's safe. It is a wonderful, it's a noble profession. But how can we evolve with the times to be relevant? How can we
Yeah.
help? And that's right. I'm really excited thinking about what AI could do. Basically, having every one of us have our own personal CFO. Our banking app could be our own personal CFO to help us. And I'm thinking things much more substantial than, oh, you have two Netflix subscriptions, cancel those. Okay, those are helpful, but okay, we're looking at your spending patterns, and maybe if you do things a little bit differently, this is where your projected outcome could be. So wouldn't it be cool if we all had this objective CEO to help us?
Yes, very cool. And so from where you sit, what are you concerned about as far as consolidation of banks? And then also, what would your advice be if somebody was out looking for a bank? Like what questions should they be asking and what qualities most matter with not just the bank, but the banker?
Yeah, so I'll answer your last
I
question
have a habit
first.
of doing two questions. I don't know
No,
why. It's my ADD. I do it all the time. I'm like, bing, bing, bing. Sorry.
no, it's
Luckily,
all
your
good.
brain tracks because mine doesn't even track my own brain.
I'll try to track. So number one is, can I have a banker that can get things done for me? Right? That's what matters. I want one person to call to help and to resolve, not one person to call to give me a 1-800 number. Someone that I can pick up the phone, call them, and they can get done what needs to be done. Uh, we all know bank branches are largely not used in today's day and age. It's a wonderful, it's psychological. There's a psychology to managing money, which, by the way, is a wonderful book. If you haven't read The Psychology of Money, uh, there's a psychology to managing your money. And even though you don't need a bank branch, it feels good to have a bank branch
Yeah, it is like
because
see a physical person.
to see, well, it just, even if you don't even go and see the person,
Yeah.
that's my bank. So to me, it's, can you have access to a banker, and can that banker get things done? Then number two, what kind of tools do they have technologically that can help me make my daily life simple? So
Yeah.
one of the things that we have done that I don't know that any other bank in the country has it. I talk to high net worth individuals all the time. I say, what is your number one pain point with banking? And it's almost always wire transfers. Wire
Hmm.
transfers are such a pain, right? It's a real time money movement. So the risk of fraud is real. And so many people stay away from it from an electronic standpoint. And, you come in, show your ID, get in, two people to, co-sign it, yada, yada, yada. And we've built a wire transfer portal that you go into on your online banking and you authorize your wire transfer, but then the system will call you back and you have to authorize that wire transfer with your voice. But we know AI is smart enough to copy your voice, but it has to be your voice from your phone. So it's
Hmm.
multi-factor authentication by itself.
Oh,
And
I love
not
that.
knock on wood, we've been doing it for 4 years now and haven't had a single instance of fraud. And it makes moving your money so easy.
Yeah, that is huge. I can't imagine how scary it is for you because you're so relationship driven that it's like that's dear. Those relationships are so dear that God forbid something ever happened to someone's money. And I love that you've set this up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's about trust. That's our
yeah.
currency. We broker in trust. So we have to do everything possible to make sure the money is safe.
Yeah, well, because yeah, it is. It can be broken, and it's so so scary. So that is a huge advantage over your competitors. Wow. So okay, you've been in this almost now we're 2026. You started 2017 in the role, and in 2023, I read about this. You were flying to the Rose Bowl. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah,
And got and on a private plane with your friend who was the pilot and you guys got into a plane crash, which it's unbelievable that you're here to tell this story. What a blessing.
oh, thank you. I feel that way. Thank you.
Wow. Can you walk me through, I guess, a little bit of what happened and how you survived and how you're thriving now?
Yeah. So one of the great things you get to do is just experience life with your clients as a banker. And we are $28 billion in assets today. We'd be about the 45th largest bank in the country. So there's about 4,500 banks, 4,500 banks in the country. We're about number 45 largest, but we're 28 billion. The largest is JP Morgan at $4 trillion, to give you some scale. So there's a whole bunch of super small banks, and we're in the top 50 in terms of size. But what I can do is make myself available to clients. It's really hard for Jamie Dimon to make himself available to key clients. So I try to be out there and make myself available to clients. And we were at a client event, and one of the clients who happens to be on the board of trustees at the University of Utah came up to me and another client and said, you know, you're my two favorite Cougars, meaning BYU Cougars. And you can tell when someone's disingenuous, and clearly there was more to it. There was a little jab in there.
Of
That
course,
year,
yeah.
that year, our football team was going to, I think, some bowl in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Who knows bowl. And his Utah Utes were going to the Rose Bowl. He said, I hope you guys enjoy yourselves in Albuquerque. My family and I were going to be in Pasadena for the Rose Bowl. I said, that's really funny. If we were really your two favorite Cougars, you would turn around and invite us to join you on the 50-yard line in Pasadena. And he says, you know what? I'll do it on one condition. You agree to wear Utah gear. And my friend and client, Nathan, said, Brent, let's do it. I'll fly us back and forth the same day. So all of this happened based on a lark, right? It was just some good-natured ribbing, and all this happened. So we went down, and here's a blessing I don't talk about very much. My two boys were going to join me on the flight, and for whatever reason, 2 days beforehand, my youngest son just said he didn't feel good about it and said, Dad, let's not go. I said, okay, you don't need to go. I'm going to go. I felt fine about it. So it was the pilot and I and his wife and another one of our bankers. And it was a private jet. And this jet seated whatever, 14, 16 people. There were only four of us. And as we got on the plane, he said, hey, Brent, do you want to go in the co-pilot seat? I mean, I love adventure. I'm like, how? Yes, you don't need two pilots. I know I'm certified, and he had over 2,000 hours on this plane. You can just sit in the co-pilot seat, and his wife and the other banker were in the back. And long story short, we took off. Everything was great, going about 200 miles an hour, 200 feet off the ground. On your way to the Rose Bowl, pretty good. And then all of a sudden, for reasons unknown, the plane took a hard turn down and to the left, to the point the tip of the wing started scraping on the runway, and then it acted like a catapult, sending the nose directly into the ground. And then at that point, we started to roll, and we rolled, I think, 12 or 15 times, which severed the wings and severed the engines, which kept us from burning to death. But on impact, my friend, the pilot, passed on impact. He was ejected from the plane, and he was crushed. And you probably seen the picture. It was literally like a tin can just smashed, and I was left in not very good shape. And in fact, the first responders didn't think I was going to survive. And there's a picture of me laying on the ground, basically bleeding out. And the first responders are just standing next to me with their arms folded. And I reached out to him like, what are you doing? Why aren't you helping? And he's like, Brent, we wanted to let you pass in peace. We didn't think there was anything we could do for you. And that happened on January 2nd, 2023. So just 3 years ago. And I can go to so many learnings, and so many blessings to allow me to be here today. And so many takeaways for me, but probably the biggest one is, for whatever reason, God has spared me and allowed me to have a mulligan, extra time, extra innings, whatever you want to call it. And I just don't want, I want to take advantage of that. I don't want to let a day get wasted.
Incredible. And you said at the beginning that you were religious. Did you become more religious, or were you always religious and you feel like that faith kind of maybe played a role?
It definitely, faith played a role. I wouldn't say I'm more religious. I'm more aware of my own mortality, and also my own shortcomings. But it is so humbling to realize that every one of us is on the knife's edge of being alive or not being alive.
Yeah.
And why, for believers, God allowed you to live where my friend right next to me didn't make it. And that you go into survivor's guilt, right? Why me? And why did he not make it? And and it's hard, and life is hard, and it's okay not to be okay.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the nurses in the ICU pulled me aside and said, Brent, I know your type. You're an overachiever. You're gonna come back. You're gonna beat this, but there's going to be days when it's not okay. There's going to be days when you just feel like you're on the short end of the stick, and it's okay not to be okay. And that is so true. And if the listeners get nothing else from this podcast, but know my firm belief that it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
Every one of us is not okay from time to time. From the CEOs of the largest corporations to the janitors to school teachers to you name it. And as leaders, we need to speak up and let people know there's times we're not okay.
Absolutely.
And when you're not okay, that's when you reach out to the people you love and let them support you.
Absolutely. It's a great message. And how have you done that as a CEO? How have you made it safe with so many employees? You probably want to make sure that you can touch each one of them individually and say, like, you're not just as good as your numbers, or you're not just as good as the hours that you clocked in. You are a whole human. How do you make sure they feel seen and heard?
Yeah, that's hard, right? Because you do have, you do have shareholders you have to meet, right? And it doesn't mean that everybody gets to keep their job because they're great people, right?
Right.
I mean, we still have to deliver, but the way I've done it is to be real and to be vulnerable, making myself vulnerable. And when someone has messed up, calling them on it and giving them the opportunity to rectify that, but holding them accountable to it.
Hmm.
The the biggest difference, honestly, is being willing to tell people you love that you love them. That is just such contrarian to everything that I've ever been taught in a work environment. I tell people that I love them when I love them, and I only do it
Yeah.
when that's sincere. But life is too short
Yeah.
not to let people know when you love them. And
Absolutely. Because you
everybody,
experienced that firsthand. I could have
yeah,
not had a chance to say those words.
that's exactly right. And there's everybody thinks of love in a romantic sense. Totally setting that aside. This is loving someone as a human being that makes a difference in your life,
Yeah.
right? And there's power in sharing that because all of a sudden you're on the same team. And that's not on the same team of WaFd or XYZ company. That is on the same team of life. And we're in it together, and we're going to win. And you do that with your employees, you do that with your clients. But the key is you need to be real.
Yeah. Be genuine. It's
You
so
be genuine.
impactful.
It's not to everybody, and you need it. You need to make time to connect. And
Well,
there's not
especially
one.
now, the depth of I think I don't know how to put it into words, but I think that there's a gap for people, and a longing and a missing. I don't know if it's social media, or I don't know what's happening now, but I mean, I read a lot about, I don't know if you follow Scott Galloway, but they're talking about just kind of all this stuff with young men and how empty. There's this like phenomenon of young men feeling very empty and lacking connection. And that people, especially, and AI is great, but I mean, you can sit in your house all day and live in a virtual universe. And it's crazy to me because I think that I'm back to the old school. Like,
Yes,
let's just
no.
connect. I'm old
And
school like that.
it turns out there's a big, amazing world could be right next to you. And these little
Absolutely.
devices in our ears, in the phones, you go and sit on an airplane, you have no idea who you're sitting next to. You
100%.
could be sitting next to a Holocaust survivor. You
Yeah.
think you might be able to learn something from them, right? I mean, there's so many amazing people. I have not found anyone that I've ever met that I couldn't learn something from.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have a couple last questions for you because I know you got to go, and I'm so grateful for your time, like beyond. I feel very inspired. How has this experience changed overall your relationships? Either strengthened them or helped you see sides of people that you were like, you know what, I got to trim the fat and kind of uh, make sure that I surround myself with people who lift me up and who I can lift up.
Yeah, to me, it's been just the opposite. I haven't trimmed the fat. My slice of the world of people I love has only expanded.
Yeah.
Let me give a perfect example. We focus way too much in this life, in our world, on our differences, and not enough on what we have in common, which is the vast majority. And a really good friend of mine called me up when I was in the hospital, and he said, "Brent, I'm devastated to hear what happened, and I feel helpless. So I want to let you know I called in a favor. There's an archbishop at the Vatican that he married my wife and I. He's married a couple of our children. I called him up, and he's holding mass in your name." And I was
Oh,
blown away. Here I
oh,
am, a Mormon kid from Sammamish, Washington, and they're holding mass in the Vatican in my name.
incredible.
How wonderful. How
Beautiful.
beautiful,
Yeah.
right? There is so much good in the world, so much we have in common, but yet we focus on our differences, whether it be our political difference, or whether what side of the tracks we came from, whatever it is. There's a time and a place to focus on differences. My only ask is let's focus at least as much time on what we have in common as we do on our differences.
I love it. Can you please like run for some sort of political office? We need people like you. And nobody wants to do it, but like we need more good humans that have the right intentions and your heart. I love it.
You're very kind, and I do.
I'm
I
serious.
honestly, I aspire to be a good and a decent human. That's what I hope
I
to be.
I think you already are, but continue the good work. I'm really inspired by you and wow, just seriously, wow. I'm grateful. What is your ultimate fuel? What fuels you? That's my final question for you.
What fuels me is to give back. I have been so blessed by so many people that have sacrificed for me, people I've known and people I haven't known. So I want to give back. I want to, I was a Boy Scout as a kid, and right, you always leave the campsite better than you found it. And I want to try to leave this world a little bit better than I found it. There's so much in this world we can't control, but there's a lot we can control. And let's start with the little things we can control and make it better.
Thank you for listening to the What Fuels You podcast. If you'd like to check out past episodes to hear from more business leaders, go to fueltalent.com/podcast. And if you have a minute, please leave a review and rating on your favorite podcast app, or share this episode with a friend or colleague. Please share any feedback or interview suggestions for other guests by sending a message to podcast@fueltalent.com. I'm Shauna Swerland, and thanks again for listening.